It says here from yourself, Kevin Michalinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what
I'd be happy to provide it. And we'll provide it over, but I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Holman, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father from his family.
Mr. Holman, with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review.
Mariana lost consciousness. Her lawyers and her family are desperate to get her medical care. So, Mr. Holman, in your expert view, can you instruct and advise me how to elevate Mariana's case and ensure that she gets the medical care she needs?
Well, on your first comment about the callousness of ICE Medical, let me be clear in that case that was talked about yesterday, because I remember that case. In 20 days of detainment, they had 10 medical appointments, 10.
I'm just going
and the mother didn't go to 2 of them.
I'd like
10, no.
Mr. Holman, I'd like to reclaim, this is my time, I'd like to reclaim my time, and right now.
You can't make a statement about callousness in medical care.
As tragic as, but we can all agree that it was a tragedy that that baby died, okay? I'm not talking about the past, I'm talking about the present, and we have an opportunity to save a life. And I'm asking you, in your expert opinion, what should be done and how can we elevate?
I am not going to let your comment about callousness stand without a response. This is about transparency in the American people, is it not? I'm telling you that mother is given 10 medical appointments, and she, as required by law, should release after 20 days.
Hold up. Whoa. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I understand what's going on here. We're talking about 2 cases, is that right?
Yes, I was referencing the tragedy of a baby that we've already lost.
Right.
There is a woman in care right now.
You're inquiring about that? Okay, that's what I just want to make sure I was clear.
And I'm just seeking his expert counsel on what is the procedure and what can be done to elevate this woman's case, to get her the medical attention that the detention doctors have said are essential to keeping her healthy and alive.
Very well. Let me just ask you real quick. And tell us what you can do, too, to help in that situation. Now we'll restart your time. All right, go ahead. Sir.
But to make a statement about a baby that didn't die in ICE custody.
Reclaiming my time. Let me state the question again.
Is this hearing for transparency to American people or not?
Mr. Holman, I am not revisiting the past.
Of course not.
I offered it for context, and I said it was a tragedy, and we can all agree there have been far too many tragedies. You said there's been a lot of death. Let's stop the death.
You can't blame the first death on ICE.
So we have an opportunity to save a woman's life. You are an expert.
Contact acting ICE Director Matt L.
Reclaiming the time, in your expert opinion, where a person loses consciousness in custody and has been separated from her babies for months, how does a member of the United States Congress get an answer about her case from ICE?
I would make an urgent phone call if that's what your facts are accurate. I would make an urgent phone call to Acting Director Matt Elbitz. ICE spends nearly $500 million on medical care in our facilities. So I'm sure all the facts you presented probably aren't the facts.
Reclaiming my time, Ms. Costello, and your...
Before you today, and thank you for this invitation. I have spent 34 years enforcing immigration laws. I started my career in 1984 as a Border Patrol agent, then as a special agent, and climbed the ranks one step at a time to become the acting ICE director. I have conducted and oversaw criminal investigations into alien...
The gentleman will suspend for just a moment. We're not allowed to have graphic poster displays during testimony of witnesses. Okay, thank you.
I have conducted and oversaw criminal investigations into alien smuggling, human trafficking, immigration fraud, narcotics trafficking, gun trafficking, and human trafficking, child predator crimes, and other customs-related offenses. As the Executive Associate Director of ICE, I oversaw all interior enforcement operations to include arrests, detention, and removal of those illegally in the United States in order removed by an immigration judge.
Forgive me, Mr. Homan. The gentleman will suspend. Officer, the people who were doing that are allowed to stay if they agree not to do any more poster demonstrations. So just let them know that, and they can quietly be readmitted. Very good. Mr. Homan, your time will be compensated for. Thanks.
I retired on January 27, 2017, was asked on that same day to postpone my retirement and serve as the acting director of ICE by the President of the United States. It was a great honor. I stayed and served for another year and a half to my second retirement on June 30th, 2018. With more than 3 decades of immigration enforcement experience, I'm extremely concerned about the growing risk to our nation's public safety, security, rule of law, and that is all due to illegal immigration. What is happening on our southern border is unprecedented in several ways. The composition of those entering illegally is unprecedented because 70% of those are either family units or unaccompanied children. It is also unprecedented that a majority of those crossing are abusing the asylum laws and making fraudulent claims to asylum and are exploiting the loopholes that Congress has refused to close. Also unprecedented is the attack and vilification of the American patriots that serve this nation as Border Patrol agents, ICE officers, and agents. The biggest problem involves the unwillingness of Congress to address the loopholes that are causing this crisis. I and many others have spent the last 2 years saying what needs to be done not only to protect our borders, enforce the law in a meaningful way, but to also save lives. However, those calls for action have fallen on deaf ears because there's no more interest in fixing this problem. It's about open borders agenda, resisting our president, more interest in that than securing our border. This should not be a partisan issue. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, you should want to secure our border. There's no downside on having a secure border. There is no downside on having less illegal immigration. There is no downside on less illegal drugs coming in this country. There is no downside in stopping the bankrolling of criminal cartels in Mexico that smuggle both people and drugs. After all, Border Patrol and ICE are merely enforcing the laws enacted by Congress. The past few weeks, the attacks on the Border Patrol have swelled. The media and some in Congress want to say that those in the Border Patrol custody are mistreated. The holding facilities are overcrowded and there are not enough showers. The DHS Inspector General also said the facilities are overcrowded, which in turn affects the quality of care within the facility. However, this should be no surprise to anyone. Border Patrol leadership and acting DHS Secretary McAleenan have been warning Congress for months that this system is overwhelmed and that more funds are needed so these people can be moved quickly to a more appropriate facility designed for them. The same people that vilify the Border Patrol for detention conditions are the same people that refuse to answer their call for help until it's too late. I find it disheartening that no one here, I've heard today, wants to talk about the 4,000 lives that the Border Patrol saved last year. Over 4,000 people that were found by Border Patrol agents in dire straits that may have perished if it wasn't for the heroic efforts of these agents. No one talks about how these men and women bring toys from their home and their own children to these facilities so the migrant children will have something to play with. No one talks about the sicknesses of these migrants and how these agents take that sickness home to their own families because of that exposure. No one wants to talk about how these agents have to go through TB screening constantly because they've been exposed to that serious illness. No one wants to talk about how these men and women who care for these children that cross illegally into this country, I'm talking about unaccompanied alien children now, cross into this country in the hands of criminal organizations that were abandoned by their own families. No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about how these Border Patrol agent mom and dads console these children, and it's disgraceful. Finally, I want to address the unprecedented attack and vilification of men and women of ICE and the Border Patrol. These men and women who chose a life of service to this nation deserve better, not only from the media, from those here in this committee and other members of Congress. These men and women who chose a life of service deserve more. These men and women are working in extremely difficult environments and dealing with an extraordinary influx of vulnerable people. They are doing the best they can under the circumstances. As a 34-year veteran of law enforcement, it is shocking to see the constant attacks against those that leave the safety and security of their homes every day, put on a Kevlar vest and put a gun on their hip and risk their own safety to defend this nation. Those that attack the professional integrity of those that serve and blatantly throw unsubstantiated allegations against these men and women with zero evidence of guilt are wrong and should be ashamed. Most of these allegations will be found to be untrue after extensive investigation, but it's too late when that happens because the damage has been done. The agency has been tarnished, in the spirit of the men and women that serve are many times broken, their morale is at an all-time low. They have to wake up every day and see news reports and comments from representatives in Congress that they're Nazis, white supremacists, that they operate concentration camps, that they knowingly abuse women and children. Those that make those outrageous statements believe that once you decide to carry an ICE badge or a Border Patrol badge, that you lose all sense of humanity. They think that no longer these people have a heart or they care about other people. ICE agents and Border Patrol agents are mom and dads too. They have children. What they see every day in this unprecedented surge of children and families affects them deeply and emotionally. It is something they're going to deal with every day and will stay with them the rest of their lives. Over half of Border Patrol agents are of Latin descent. And to say that they abuse those from Central America with no evidence of abuse is just plain wrong and insulting to those that have to endure this crisis each and every day. I ask this: has any of those who easily attack the men and women of the Border Patrol ICE, you ever walked up to one and thanked one for serving their nation? Have you ever walked up to one and thanked them for putting their lives on the line every day for this country? Have you ever attended the honor burial of a Border Patrol agent or ICE agent that died during their job, died for this country? Have you ever had to console a small child or a spouse of a fallen officer? I have, too many times. Have any of these people want to attack the Border Patrol and ICE? Have you ever walked the walls of the National Law Enforcement Memorial just down the street and see 21,000 names of men and women that made the ultimate sacrifice for this country, which includes hundreds of Border Patrol agents and ICE agents and their legacy agencies? These agents deserve better from the representatives of Congress. With that, I'll be available for questions.